Thank you for tuning into Literary Blend, a publishing podcast. I'm your host, Demi Michelle Schwartz. There's no perfect recipe for chasing a dream in the publishing industry, but I hope the conversations on this show give you the ingredients you need to bake yours into reality. So let's flip the page and get into this chapter of Literary Blend. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Literary Blend. Today's chapter is called Being an Agent and Author, and joining me on the show for a chat surrounding this topic is an extra special guest. She is a wonderful author and agent. She's my literary agent. Please give a warm virtual welcome to Michelle Jackson. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you doing? I am so excited to be on your show today. So, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm doing fantastic. It's a delight having you on the show. How are you doing today?
I am actually doing very, very well, and I am just super excited at this opportunity. It's not many times where I get to marry both worlds as an author and agent. So, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we dive into that chat, I would love for you to give a little overview about yourself and your journey in the publishing industry so far.
Okay. So, I'm putting on my author hat. So I started writing in my late 20s, so approximately over 20 years ago. And I have, been traditionally published, and I was published with Urban Christian. That was the first traditional publisher to give me the opportunity to get my foot in the door, so to speak. And since then, I've been working steady along. I'm also what you'd call a hybrid author, and so that means that I also indie publish some of my work. And so, I did want to uh, build readership, and because of that, I pursued my own literary agent. And once I secured that, one of the things that I always did was I had critique partners and had fellow authors who were also looking agents. And so I found myself beginning to read their work, give edits, give advice, content editing. I learned a lot myself as well, through other editors, through other authors. And so as a result, that made me pursue agenting. So I was definitely an author first for years, and then I decided to move into agenting, where I can then help other authors, such as myself, get their foot in the door and to get into traditional publishing.
Absolutely fantastic. Love that so much. So, let's talk more about the author side. So, when you started to pursue a career as an author, like you said, you both did traditional and indie, so you are hybrid. So, can you give a little insight into what it's like being a hybrid author and going both of those routes?
One of the things is when you're published with a a traditional company or imprint, you get a lot of perks. Like you don't have to pay to get your editing done. You work with an editor one on one. You go through an entire editorial process. And then they also work on your book cover. They help get your book distributed. So those are the things that happens when you're traditionally published versus when you're indie published. You have a lot of autonomy, which is also great. You get to decide when your book is coming out. You get to decide, your vision for the book. You're the only person you're answering to, so you can keep your vision. And I definitely still hired editors to polish my work. And I hired a book cover designer as well. So, you do those pieces, but there's an autonomy that comes with being hybrid. And I loved both. I love both aspects, but I'm primarily traditionally published now just because of the writing schedule that I have currently, and also working with other authors. I haven't done much as far as a hybrid, but it's definitely a wonderful experience. Especially when, at the time when I was self-publishing, it was still pretty fairly new with Amazon and Kindle. So, you really got some strong readers out there. I think I did. I know I did much better before they introduced the Kindle Unlimited. That's where I noticed I started to make a lot less than what I would make before. But it was a great experience. That's kind of what it's what the difference is for me with both. Is that truly traditional publishers can get your book into bookstores and even now with the Bookshop Sisterhood, I'm working with a publicist who's aiming to get my book reviewed by certain people. So those are the kind of perks I think when you work with a traditional publisher as opposed to when you're doing it yourself. When you're doing it yourself, you have to really be wise about publicity and marketing. You have to take control of all of that yourself, unless you can hire a team to do that for you, which I couldn't. So, you do your blog tours, you talk on different podcast. Well, at that time, a podcast wasn't around for me, but you visit different YouTube channels or whatever it is that it was actually Blog Talk Radio was pretty big then. So that's a little bit of the difference that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, so much fantastic insight. And I'm just thinking about my other path as a songwriter. I'm an independent artist. And so, even though I'm not doing the independent publishing, do understand to an extent what it's like. I pay for my studio time, I pay for my cover art, my graphic design, and my music promotion and my distribution. So, it is a lot and it costs money, but like you were alluding to, it definitely gives you more control. And so, for authors who want 100% control over their work, maybe going self publishing is a better option because when you go traditional, there are certain things you're going to have to give up. Sometimes you have to change your title, and you have a cover design team that's like doing all that for you. So, you don't have 100% control. But with me as a songwriter, because I write authentic music that's based on my life, I didn't want anybody telling me what I could or couldn't do with my music. And so, that's why I chose to be an
Yeah.
independent artist. But with the publishing, I definitely wanted to go traditional. And you gave some really, really awesome insights into the perks of both and the challenges of both as well. And moving forward into going down the agenting path, you said through your experiences doing critiquing and networking, it kind of opened your eyes to what it would be like to be an agent. So when you decided I want to pursue agenting, what steps did you take to start moving in that direction?
Because of the fact that I've always been an avid reader, that's where I started as an avid reader. So I would review a lot on Goodreads and, really built a little, I guess, name for myself reviewing books. Um, and and so from there, with my experience just being an author as well, so I begin to apply to different agencies to become a literary agent. So you don't quite start out as an agent. You have different titles for it. You may see literary assistant, literary associate, associate agent. Those are agents in training. I also took an agent was doing like a whole bunch of workshops, even for minorities that wanted to go into agenting, and so I took a lot of her classes as well. So that also helped with my resume, I believe, and so sent it out, and then I was given the opportunity at Ozwanga Literary, and that's where I got my start. So it is not the in my opinion, it's not the kind of a career that you're going to see the benefits right away. You have to build your client list, you have to build relationships, you have to really network, and you have to give it probably about 4 to 5 years is what might be standard before you start seeing or earning, because as an agent, you don't earn for edits, you don't earn for when I say earn, I'm talking financially because you learn a lot and it's certainly rewarding, but I'm talking as far as financially, as far as moving into it full time, so to speak. You want to go in knowing it's going to be about 4 or 5 years. You have to build your client list, you have to make sales and all of that and get yourself established. But it's that's kind of how I got into it, and I love it. You also have to have a passion for reading and a passion for helping others. You have to be willing to listen. And I think that the fact that I'm an author really gives me that perspective, because I know what it feels like to go on submission, what it feels like to get those no's. Because just as how when you're looking an agent, you send your queries out and you get, rejections, or you might get, I call them updates or passes, and you may get a lot of that until you get your yes, and you continue working and building your craft, so to speak. It's the same thing when, now you have an agent and you go in submission, you're still getting those no's. So it's a lot of no's in this world, and you have to just be willing to know it's something that you have to take your time and do, and you have to devote your energies to, before it can become a viable career. And it can be. The wonderful thing about this world is that, today you can get 10 passes, and then tomorrow you get, hey, I love this, I want it. So, those are the perks that keep you going.
So much great insight. Fantastic. Well, first of all, I really like how you brought up the passion side of things because you're exactly right in the fact that you're not going to earn financially for a while. And that goes both ways. Like, as the author, too, like writing books and pitching books and trying to get a book deal, the authors, and you know this too, before you got your first deal and before you got signed, you were writing books and putting in all that time and effort and not making anything from that until you got that deal and started to sell. And so I think it's really great how you have that passion and that other agents and authors have that passion too, because you need that passion to be in this business. If you don't love the art of stories, why would you go through all of this if you wouldn't
Yes.
like love your work? Because you're not going to make much from it for a while until you really get established, like you said. And I also really love how you brought up the point of how being an author really helped to shape your perspective as an agent, because like you said, you do
Mhm.
understand what it's like from the other side. And there are quite a few agents who are also authors and they share that perspective too. But for the agents that aren't authors themselves, they can understand it to an extent, but unless you go through it, you have the idea, you put in all the work, you write the story, you draft it, you get the feedback, you revise, all of that, and then to get no's and no's and no's until you get that yes, it's a very long and stressful and draining process. And so I think for an agent like yourself who knows what it's like, I feel like you bring a lot more empathy to the table because your clients, like me and the others, like we know that you know what it's like to be in our shoes because you've been there yourself.
Oh, yes, I do think so. And, having worked with fellow friends or my own agent who may not have penned a book, they are too, because it's not easy being the one, let your author know. No, though I love this book, no one, you got to pass on it. It's not easy to be that person that delivers those news, but it comes with the job of being an agent of, okay, I have to let my author know. I have to give them the feedback. I have to, and then I have to make sure I encourage them so that, they don't lose hope because of how this business is. And I've found that even with agents who are not published authors, that they do also have the empathy. But I do agree that there's another level when you're an author yourself and you feel it and you've gone through it. It's very piercing. It makes you doubt yourself as an author. It makes you wonder, what are you writing? Does this make sense? But every author, I think, kind of goes through that. And that's where, when you have an agent, to be a cheerleader, to encourage you. And I think that comes with all agents, whether they're authors or not.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
it comes with the territory of agenting, is that you really have to, along with passion, I like that word, you have to have that empathy too, and that willingness to talk. Because sometimes the authors just need to talk, need to brainstorm. I love the brainstorming process. A lot. I love that. I love just helping fleshing out the ideas. Being an agent, I get to see a lot of a lot of different work, a lot of different levels, a lot of different level quality. And you can, as you grow in agenting, you can tell within just a few lines, sometimes even a paragraph or two, you can tell quickly, the level of the writing. You're looking for voice, you're looking for that energy on the page, so to speak, something that just grabs you. But the wonderful thing about this world, agenting or writing, is that what isn't for one agent is for another. And that's why it's so important that we can't give up. But what you can do in the meantime is get better at your craft. I always say that. You can always um, learn, get better at your craft. The more that you do that, the more that you network, I find that the staying power is there, and the ability to, even when it comes to whether it be query critiquing or, all of this, working with your critique partners also help a lot with that.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And I love how you mentioned about not giving up and the subjectivity of it, that what may not be for one agent or editor may be for another. And I really like your tip of just continuing to network and improve your craft, because at the end of the day, the only thing that as authors we can do is to keep writing and keep trying. And so I think it's really great to recognize whenever you are getting rejections that you can move on to the next story, and you can keep revising a story that you believe in that may not be where it needs to be yet. You can always be working on your craft and meeting people in the industry, networking with other agents and authors and editors to get to know the business side too, because I think it's really important to be knowledgeable about the business you're getting into, because yes, you wrote a book and you love it, but at the end of the day, that is a product that you're trying to sell, so you need to be familiar with the business. So you mentioned several things that helped you, as an agent, being an author, to understanding it from the other side, being through the steps as an author. But are there any things that you've taken away as an agent that helps you as an author?
Yes, most of what a great question. Um, One of the things it has really helped me as an author to know that sometimes when you get a pass on a work, it has nothing to do with your quality of writing. It has nothing to see how they may view your work. They may love it a lot, but a lot of times they have an editorial board that they talk to, and they have to present it, and they have to be able to, sell your work to others, and all of that. And so that teaches me as an author that when I'm preparing whether it be my synopsis or my work to my own agent, that I'm looking to really ask myself, what is the hook? What is it that makes this stand out from the rest? What is it that's going to make an editor go, ooh, I want to read this? And that I'm giving the editor something that they can then take back to their board, speak to their people to get it signed. Because there's a lot of time projects the editors wanted, but they weren't able to get everybody on board. So it's a lot more to it, and so the author in me now knows that. So even though you'll never not be able to feel it or take it personal, you kind of learn not to take it personal. You have to, because there's a business side to it
Right.
as well. And so that's kind of some of the insights that I'm getting on the agenting side, which is you really want to make sure that when you're writing your work, that for example, if you're even if you're doing a retelling or something like that, what is it that makes yours stand out? You really have to be familiar with the genre that you're writing, and even a lot of times it has nothing to do with, as I said before, the quality of your writing. It could also be the trends. There's a business, what's selling right now. And so that's why, as an author, I know, keep writing, write what you believe in, what you're passionate about. And even if book one isn't the one, you have a book two, or it might be book three, but you really have to invest in this, knowing that it can be a long haul. It's not like a short term thing.
No.
Will have those rare occurrences, but for the most part, you want to. Because even me myself, I have maybe two or three books that's sitting there, and I don't have the time to do anything to them. I may self-publish them. I don't know, or it may be where the trend changes, and you're like, oh, I certainly want that now. So you just never know.
Yeah, a lot of great insights again. You're fantastic. So I really love how you mentioned, it may not be the first one, it may not be the second one. When you signed me, that was my third manuscript. So I know firsthand how, it can be a whole thing. But I really also like the point that you brought up about as an agent, you're recognizing more how to frame your work in a way and set it up in a way where it's unique and marketable and catches someone's attention. And I've noticed too, like myself, like I'm not an agent, but just like being more involved with the business side now and understanding the marketing side more. When I'm putting together my new story ideas and I'm starting to draft new story ideas, I'm being a lot more mindful of what can I do to make this marketable while also staying true to what I want to write about. And so it definitely is a balance of writing something you're passionate about, but making sure it's hooky and captures attentions to be publishable. So, another question I have for you is that being an author is a lot of work and being an agent is a lot of work. So, what tips do you have that you found work to create a balance between both of these worlds?
It really comes down to time management. And when you're writing, for me, I try to write every day. And then I try to be true to my time when I'm writing. But then I have agenting that I have to do. So, and I'm very communicative and I like being communicative. So, for me, I have my checklist. I have, I keep track of the email conversations, making sure that I'm, mindful of what's needed for my clients, but also giving them realistic timelines as well, because I'm one person and I'm reading X amount of manuscripts. So, whereas before I was that person, I'd be like, I'll try to get back to you in a couple of days. I already know it's not doable, it's not realistic. And so, just keeping my clients aware of, okay, I have a queue, because it seems as if everybody's sending you their stuff at the same time. And I do, I have a queue. And so devoting my time to that queue, but then also devoting the time to my manuscript, and watching my own time frame, and can I meet this particular deadline? If not, it's communication of saying, okay, I think I'm gonna need a little more time on this. So I find honestly that the only way to keep abreast of it is by um, your time that you devote, but also by communication. The communication aspect is crucial to manage both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. And if there was a literary goddess of communication, it would be you. You're like the
Oh my
goddess of
gosh,
communication.
thank you. I
You're
do
so
try.
good.
I try very hard to keep that up, and that's why too. I went through a little phase, I would say, maybe near the end of the year, where I just had so many good ones, and I was just like, wow. And I signed a few people, and so that's something else that I have to be mindful of, is that it's so sad, but it's so true. Like, my agent said to me when I was getting into it, saying, you really can't help everyone, though you really, really want to. And that's what I realized too. So I try to be mindful of, how many I have. You have to do a lot of that logistics to make sure that you're able to, because I want to be able to communicate with my clients, and I want to make sure I'm able to manage what I have before I take on, unless something comes your way that is just, oh my gosh, boom, and that's your job as the author, and it's our job as the agent, right? So as the author, your job is, um, which is to hey, though she says she's packed, when she reads this book, she's gonna want it. She's gonna be like, I have to make room. And so it's the same thing that we do as agents when it comes to editors. We want them say, I have enough thrillers on my list, but you know what? This one I got to make room. So it's really comes back to working on your craft as well and getting those beta feedback, getting the critique partners feedback. It's something that the more and more that you do and the more open that you are in this world, whether it be agenting or as an author, the more open that you are and the more communicative that you are, I think it helps you a lot, building those relationships as well. It helps you a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. And I also really like how you mentioned too that you have a queue and you definitely dedicate the time necessary to your author life and to each of your clients. And I think that's really great because I think that if you're pursuing traditional publishing, you have to get it in your head that things move slowly and you have to be patient. And when you sign with an agent, I know for me and all my other agented friends out there, like you need to recognize that you are not the only one and that your agent has other clients too. And so I think it's really great to just keep that patience mindset that you did have while you were querying. You had to be patient to get an agent. And now that you're agented, like keep that patience because never rushing things, that's really important too. Like you also had me go through edits, like do all that I needed to do before submission, and I think that's really great because you want an agent who's going to take the time with your story and get it to the best place before sending it out, and rushing that will just hurt you in the long run. And so I think it's really great how you have that queue and you are very organized and communicative, really good with time management and working through that to dedicate your time where it needs to be for yourself and your clients.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. And I do. It sounds odd, but I have like my client manuscript log and I look at every single face, every single name, and I'm like, okay, where am I with this one? Where am I with that one? So I can constantly keep myself abreast of it, of where everyone is so that I'm not dropping the ball, so to speak, So definitely a lot of that is important. Just you really have to that might be the big word here, communicator. You really just have to do whatever you have to do to stay organized so that you can communicate with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to wrap things up on this conversation, I have one more question, and that is for any agents out there who are interested in stepping into the shoes of an author themselves, or for any authors who are interested in pursuing agenting, what advice do you have them to take on both of those roles?
I guess for agents that want to become authors and I would say definitely, it's about the craft and, they have the piece where they may already know the market. And so it's getting those critique partners. It's actually finishing a draft for the agent and for the author that wants to move into agenting. It's really begin to get to know the business side of things and to really begin to study things like contracting and talking and networking. So that's it quickly in a nutshell that I can think of off the top of my head.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a wonderful chat. It's been a delight having you on the show. And this brings us to the plot twist, which is where I get to ask you a question you could have never seen coming. Are you ready?
Okay, all right.
So, it's no secret that you love romance. And my question for you is what is your all time favorite romance trope? And what is a trope that you feel is super underrated that you would love to see more of?
Oh my gosh, to me. So, okay, so my favorite romance, I love so much kind of romances, you just don't know. But okay, I never get tired of retellings. I mean, I never get tired of the fairy tale retellings, with a hook, of course. And let's see. So, even within that trope, I still always like the bad guy, good girl. I love the enemy. Oh my God, I'm gonna start listing them all. I do love the enemies, but you know what? Of late, to me, now I'm thinking while I'm talking aloud. I really love the friends to lovers trope.
Yay!
I think
In mine.
I love the friends, the lovers trope. I just love seeing, because you know what? They have that foundation. They have that, and they just have that foundation that's there, that friendship that's there, and then watching them go, it was you all along, and you were right there in my face. I'm beginning to really, I think, okay, so I've talked it all through and I'm settling right there. The lover, the friends, the lovers trope, I think, is winning right now for sure.
Fantastic.
Sure, I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to even write more of that myself, but I definitely would love to see more of that in my inbox, friends to lovers. Um, I have a few, and it is, I'm telling you, there's so much things in that trope I think that you can do. I'm always a sucker for the second chance. So, second chance, friends to lovers, but yeah, yeah, I'm definitely with the friends to lovers.
Fantastic. Well, this has been super fun. And before we go, I would love for you to share with everyone listening where they can find you online to learn more about your books as an author and also how to query you and see your manuscript wish list if they're interested in considering you for representation.
Okay, thank you. So, as an author, you can find me at michelleLindoRice.com or ZoeMarieJackson.com. As an agent, you can find me at MichelleZJackson.com, and I'm at LCS Literary. And you'll see how to submit to me. We use a shared inbox query manager. So all four of us end up looking at your work when you send it, but address it to me and I get first dibs on it. So that's how you can find me as an agent. Please do not send your query to my email. Those are deleted. I cannot explain to you, it is so much easier to manage it through Query Manager. I use my email for editors and my clients, so that keeps me organized. So that's a little bit how to find me. You can Google me, I'm easy to find. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been a true delight having you on the show for a wonderful chat about being an author and agent. And listeners, that is a wrap on this chapter of Literary Blend with Michelle Jackson. If you enjoyed our conversation, please consider leaving Literary Blend a review and giving it 5 stars to help others just like you discover it. Also, if you have friends in the publishing industry you think would be interested in this show as well, please pass it along to them. Thank you for listening, and until we flip to the next chapter, happy reading and writing.